I'm a little short, although this isn't a situation I would think that would be too much of an issue.
Being short?
Yeah.
For once in your life,
Yes.
it's like a non-issue. All right, whatever. This is happening.
Yes.
Okay, so when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about, I was like, you are probably the only person that could come on this podcast at this point that I've known, like, their entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Unless my nieces were to come on.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for so long. I mean, minus the 2 years you were alive when I wasn't. It's pretty much the only time we didn't know each other.
And then you were born in England, so we didn't see each other for a little bit.
Yeah.
But since
I was overseas traveling.
Oh, yes. Just you're born a traveler. A traveler. So in preparing for this, I figured I had a little bit of ammo, right?
Yes.
And what I'm holding here is not my journal, it's my mom's journal.
Oh, gosh. We're going to cry, probably.
I know. Oh, shoot, man. We're not going to go quite that deep. But I have
You don't
this,
have to for me.
I have this passage here from when you moved back from England. My mom writes, "My sister Donna and her family moved back from England in May. Her daughter, your cousin, Stephanie, is around 1.5 years younger than you. Since Donna and I get along so well and do so many things together, it is our hope that you will be friends. I don't know, though, because Stephanie and your personalities seem to be so different. This should prove to be interesting. Maybe it's because Stephanie is so much younger, I don't know. Today she pulled your hair, and you just about had it with her. It makes for an uncomfortable situation sometimes. She is a very active child." Underlined. "I'm hoping she'll settle down and you two will be good friends."
That's adorable.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny to read that you were like a very active child. Because I've always known you to be like very,
I'm very organized and type A, but at the same time, I am very active, at least mentally and physically as well, you know? Yeah. So I think that kind of held true for my life to this point.
Your brain's still going a million miles a minute at all times.
Yes. And I think us having very different personalities, but getting along has held true as well. I mean, you were like my big sister growing up, still are.
But I think we like really started clicking in high school.
Yes, those morning drives to high school really sealed the deal for us.
They did, and I wanted to share that you had a note in your backpack.
A note?
Didn't you have a note in your
Oh,
backpack?
I did. So Katie was always notoriously late in the morning. Like, I would just show up at her house ready to go to school, backpack full of books, ready with all my homework done.
Emphasize like a very large backpack filled with a
Too
large
large
amount of books.
Probably causing injury to my back at large.
This is why she has back problems today.
But she would just be like casually sitting on the couch, like, not really in a rush to get to school. And I would try to be really calm when I came into the house and be like, okay, we'll get there on time. And at some point, I expressed my concern to my mom, and she just wrote me an emergency late letter just in case to give to the principal in case we were late, so I would be excused and not get a detention.
Yeah. I think that's the story of our lives, is that you're like always prepared. And I'm like, we'll see what happens.
I think it's great to be both ways. I think there's advantages in both ways.
Yeah.
I've definitely have learned recently, at least, to be a little bit more flexible. There's some value in that. There's also some value in being prepared, and that's always going to be a part of my nature. I'm not really a great person just jumping into things, but I've learned that sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
To get
There's
stuff
no
done.
wrong way. You have to figure out what works best for you. But you have always been very dedicated to your education, to school. That's always been very important to you. And I wanted to ask if that was always the case, like if you just kind of naturally were interested in school, or if your parents kind of drove that home for you,
Yeah. I think to a certain point, my mom did have a big influence because she was a teacher. Right. But really, in my heart, I just love learning. You can't take the student out of me. So I just graduated from 5 years of getting my PhD, and less than maybe 6 months later, I signed up for a photography class
You
because
did not.
I want to be back and learning. And this time, obviously, it's more fun
Yeah.
to be doing something with a hobby,
Yeah.
focus rather than, but honestly, I love school. I love learning. I love it. And as crazy as it sounds, I would not hate like learning more and going after being in school my whole entire life. But also maybe part of that is just because that's what I've been comfortable with my whole life. So it was kind of a shocker graduating after 27 years of
Straight
school.
school.
Yeah, I didn't even take a break between undergraduate and graduate, and I was kind of like, what do I do with my time now? But now it's been fun to have. I've embraced that free time more, and taking like these hobbyist classes has been really fun. So yeah, I just love learning.
Yeah.
I think it's just so fun. I think there's so much to learn in the world, and I'm really more of a active learner, going back to being really active.
Right.
So I learn best in structured classes, having that face-to-face time and learning with people.
Hands-on,
Yeah.
visual learner.
And I can teach myself a lot of things, but I just don't think I feel as engaged when I'm not surrounded by other people wanting to learn, or
Yeah.
I'm not with someone else who knows more than me and I want to learn from them. I just think that's a really great environment for me. And yeah, so I just love it. I love learning.
I often go back to like being in college when I just don't think there was ever a time when I was with such a like-minded group of people who were all so excited about learning, so excited about our careers and moving forward. I see why that's really attractive.
Yes. And I think college is so much fun in that sense, like mostly undergrad, because everyone's in the same boat. You're all kind of like figuring out what you want to do.
Nobody
learning new
knows.
things. No one knows.
Yeah.
And things just kind of fall into place, but you're all kind of in the same mindset. You study, you do your work, you go to class, and for me, that's just really fulfilling. I just really love it.
So tell everybody kind of what your path was, how you, where you went to school, and what you were studying at each place.
Yeah. So Katie and I went to NDCL together. Go Lions!
Get this for a high school name: Notre Dame Cathedral Latin High
Yes.
School. Try putting that on a college application.
Right.
It like never fit. Ugh.
I know. So that was, good old high school. You can't really get much information from that,
Yeah.
besides just being really awkward and uncomfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much where everybody
Yeah, that's
is.
about it.
But even at high school level, I loved science and math. Those were just my two go-to subjects. I just love them. Math especially, the idea of just putting equations together and plugging and chugging, like just getting those values and, just learning about the math and the theory of it. It just always excited me. And that really expanded and spilled over into the science as well, chemistry and biology. So it wasn't really interesting how I chose my undergraduate major. I just put two together and went into chemical engineering. And I wasn't really sure if I would like it. And I kind of just took a jump, a leap of faith, and it ended up sticking for all 4 years. A lot of people go in undecided, and I think that's great. And for me, it was just like, I know I really like these two subjects, so I'm just going to try it. And I kind of always had the open mind, maybe I'll switch or change it up, but it just stuck, and I loved it. So I loved.
Did somebody ever tell you what chemical engineering was, like in high school? How did you figure out what it was?
Yeah, and so I think it's really important, to gather information about what you want to do and try to make the best decision you can. So I did talk to people. I shadowed a lot, and I talked to people that were in the field and, followed them around at work, the classic high school style, and asked questions. So luckily my dad was at a chemical company, so I was able to actually follow some chemical engineers around there. We had another connection on our street that worked at a chemical company. I followed him around, and I just saw these people in these labs combining science and math and applying them to these tangible outcomes. And I was like, this is cool. I want to try this. So.
And it was hands-on,
Yes.
like you were saying, too.
Active.
You get to be active still.
Definitely. So that stuck for all 4 years at Miami University. It was a great experience, and that school, I love it. Everyone you ask that goes there loves it.
Yeah.
The campus is amazing.
Beautiful campus.
Yes.
Even though I went to your rival school. It is a beautiful campus, I can admit that.
Yes.
And a great educational institution.
Yes, it was. And the engineering program was smaller, but I actually really liked that because it the teachers really cared, I felt. They were always there for office hours, and I just, I loved that learning experience. So having them being as serious about it as I was, it was great. And of course, I met my husband there, so.
Woohoo, shout out to Trevor.
Yes. So then I graduated there 2012, and then I started graduate school immediately. So within undergrad, I kind of knew from the start I wanted to go beyond undergrad, just because the research and the science, again, going back to being really wanting to be hands-on active. So I saw the level of work that those that within undergraduate could do, and I just thought I wanted to take it a step further and dig deeper and have a little bit more independence in my science and my research, kind of be a lead scientist in those roles. And, obviously those other roles are just as important, but I just felt for me, I really wanted to take it a step further and, again, learn more. So also within undergraduate, I'm going to get emotional. What? I just got emotional. But anyways, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so that was really life-altering in the sense, you get this phone call while you're away at college that your mom is being rushed into emergency surgery because she has stage 3 ovarian cancer. So that's like the worst phone call to get.
The worst phone call to get, and I'm not trying to negate your emotion, but she beat it.
Yes.
She beat it.
Yes. So 8 years later, she is in remission. I'm so incredibly proud of her. So.
She totally changed her lifestyle. She is so healthy and active and just always working towards being the healthiest she can be.
Yes, exactly. So
but
she's
that's the worst. I mean, not to negate it, but
she's awesome and amazing. And so I, also my dad did have a smaller, incident of cancer in high school. And that was really kind of the starting point where I started thinking a little bit more, what kind of science and research do I want to get into? So that's always been in the back of my mind. And then in undergrad, when I witnessed how much, so my dad, he, suffered as well, but his was a little bit more treatable. He had surgery and he didn't have to go through as intense chemotherapy as my mother did, but at the end of the day, cancer is cancer and it sucks.
Yeah.
You never want that, especially for your parents.
Yeah.
But with my mother, it just having that firsthand experience with her chemotherapy, I was just in shock at how little we still know about cancer and how few treatments are available for patients and how little, to be frank, the doctors know how to treat this disease. And it's just, I started really digging into it and learning more, and it's this disease of your body. It's your own cells turning against you, essentially, which is why it's so difficult to treat. And this just really sparked, so much inside me to want to learn more and dig deeper. And what I really found about the cancer field is that I felt confident going into this type of research that I would never be bored. I would always find something interesting, always find something new to explore. And from the engineering standpoint, this is a huge question unknown still. So this is a huge problem that still needs to be solved. So that was just so attractive to me.
Like a little light bulb goes off.
It was. And
I can make a difference.
Exactly. And, obviously the passion. The passion's what drives you. You have to find something that drives you and you feel great about doing every day. And just having both of my parents go through that, but also hearing everyone else's stories about it and just having that science and math also behind me to kind of make me interested. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. So that was a really big eye-opening, experience. And I pretty much at that point was dedicated. I'm going into cancer research and I never looked back. So for graduate school, I applied to many different schools, and at the end of the day, I just went around and talked to professors like, do you have cancer research? That's all I cared about.
Right.
And luckily, I fell into a great lab at the University of Akron, and in biomedical engineering, which was a great field to kind of bring this all together and focus on the cancer research. And it really took off from there. So I actually started off with the intentions of being a master's student.
Right.
And 2 years, get out, go get a job. But it just took off. And my advisor at the time sat me down, was like, this is going really well. Do you want to stay for your PhD? You know, I can fund you. And I was like, this is, so every big decision in my life from the beginning, I've made a pros and cons list.
Oh, yeah.
Which you can always rely on and do, but at the end of the day, it's a leap of faith.
Tell me about your pros and cons list. This is so great because I make pros and cons
Yes.
lists too. Do you divide it into columns? Is it more of like a pie chart? What do you?
Oh,
what kind of
columns,
columns,
for sure,
Okay,
yes.
Like just a regular notebook paper. Or are you going like Excel spreadsheet?
I've done all the above.
Okay.
So sometimes I do multiple for a
Okay,
decision.
yes.
Sometimes you have to go through multiple iterations
It's
and be
true.
like, has anything changed? You got to kind of reevaluate it
Yeah,
at
yeah.
different points. And so, but as many of those as I make, you have to just really follow your heart and
Yeah.
take a leap of
You
faith.
can get caught up in it if
Yes.
you don't just let go and make a decision.
Yes.
Sometimes you're like, let me go back with a different color highlighter this
Yes.
time and see what's still appropriate.
Yes, and so, it's great, and I definitely like to use it as a sounding board, just like logically, here's my positives, here's my negatives, and I even take it a step further, like rank those, my positives and my negatives, and score them, and
Give them weight.
Yes, exactly. And it's so hard, I'm a very emotional person, so it's so hard sometimes to make decisions without just being emotional about it. Because sometimes if you follow your emotions, whether you're scared or you just want to stay with what's comfortable or you just want to go make money or
Yeah.
you're worried about all these other things emotionally, you might not be actually making the best decision at the end if you just kind of do these knee-jerk reactions to how you're feeling.
Yeah, and so you were dating Trevor at that point, who's your now husband, and you I can see where, you had to make the decision to do it long distance. You could have made that emotional decision to stay where he was or to make, but you guys worked it out and you did it long distance. I mean, that's really cool too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for the first year of graduate school, we were long distance. So yeah, it was, I could have definitely made that decision, been like, I don't want to move away
Right.
and, I want us to stay together. But I also just think in terms of relationship, it was really strengthening, to have that experience and, not like everyone has to go through that, but I'm happy it worked out that way. Just,
Right.
It worked out for the best. And the fact that we made it through and here we are. So.
Yeah. So you went on straight from grad school to getting your PhD, and you made your research really started taking off at this point. So tell me what you were developing,
Yeah.
and where that led you.
Yeah, so in the lab, we started developing a technology that actually grows small-scale tumors. So it's pretty crazy.
It's nuts.
This was a pretty different experience for me coming from a chemical engineering background. When I walked in the lab, everyone there knew how to work with cells and do standard biology lab techniques. I had no idea, and I was terrified. But I knew this was what I wanted to do, so I just did it. And the research just started really taking off. So this technology can grow these 3D cancer cell cultures that can then be used for cancer drug testing. And so the idea is that in the pharmaceutical industry, what they're doing now is they're testing on 2D layers. Obviously, tumors and us, humans, are 3D. So cancer drugs are going to respond very differently in a 2D environment than they are in a 3D. So by using this technology in drug discovery work, we can get a better idea how cancer drugs are going to respond earlier in the process and ultimately help get more effective cancer drugs to the market faster and cheaper. So
You actually put that very well.
thank you.
Well, being in the science field, sometimes you can get in deep with it. So when was that aha moment that you knew it was going to work, like it was going to be big?
Yeah, so I think kind of with these things, everyone else kind of knows before you do. Everyone else kind of starts making a bigger deal, and then you're like, wait, what? You care about this?
Yeah.
So we were just doing a standard research lab routine, do the experiments, publish, get our data out there. And a lot of this goes out to my advisor at the time who was applying for grants, spreading the awareness of our technology, and we kept getting getting funding and awareness, and the media started getting involved, and also a lot of it's timing. So this is a huge thing in this current market space that people need and people want, and we also actually started thinking about commercializing this. So we went around and talked to potential customers. So we actually talked to over 100 potential customers, going to them, listening to them. And so coming from a science background, that was really hard. I want to be like, what do you do? Tell me about your research. But I had to listen to what their needs are, what their current dilemmas are in, cancer research, and really listen for, is this something they need? Because you can't ever be successful in a business if you're not taking customer input into account and you're just creating something that you think people need.
Right. And we all have customers.
Yes.
If you are in a business, you
Yes.
have a customer. Yeah, that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And you traveled to do this too, right?
Yes.
On some occasions.
Mm-hmm. So there was actually a established program that we went through to do this, and so we flew out to LA and we talked to customers there. We also went to other conferences like in Chicago, Boston. So it took a lot of traveling and talking to people, and it's an ongoing process because you need to constantly take this information in, and because people, their needs change based on what they have available to them, and the market trends change, so you kind of have to constantly do this. Mm-hmm. And it was also, that was kind of my first step into entrepreneurship, which was a very different world. And
Totally.
So actually I'm pretty open about sharing why I got into this space now, but actually at that entrepreneurship program in LA, they kept pushing me to be more emotional and open about it. And for some reason, I felt because they were telling me to be that way, I didn't want to be that way. So I was being kind of stubborn, and I just felt like, people should just trust me. Why do I have to tell them why I'm doing this?
Isn't that crazy how that authenticity or just sharing a little bit about yourself is often the selling point?
Yes.
That's when people buy.
Yes. And that was pretty much what happened. Once I started really opening up about why I'm doing this and my why, it when people have that personal connection, it changes everything. Mm-hmm. And so, it's pretty funny to think back to that about, how much I didn't want to do that, and now I'm just much more open about it. And
have you gotten emotional about it in front of people, like when you were trying to pitch your product?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten really hard sometimes in the beginning. So usually when you're pitching for a business or funding, it's the first thing you kind of say is why you're doing this. And actually, our aunt, Linda, the day she got diagnosed with her pancreatic cancer, I was pitching, and I got the text as I was walking into the pitch, and I kind of lost a little bit, but it wasn't crying. I was angry. I got angry.
You were fired up.
Yes.
And our grandparents too, and how many more people do we have to watch suffer from this?
And so I was frustrated with that, and I went up there and I just kind of let it go. And it kind of was one of the better pitches I did, I think, being spontaneous, not being so scripted and afraid.
Threw the pro and cons list out the window and just went with your heart.
Exactly. And it adds passion and fire to me. And it sometimes it's really easy to just, after you do after I talk about this technology for so much, sometimes I can get very robotic about how I explain it. Mm-hmm. And I think the more individuality I can keep adding to it and show my emotions, the better. And just in general in life, don't hide your emotions. Be who you are and embrace them, and know when it's good to listen and when you just kind of have to let them be.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good. It's deep stuff.
Yes.
So you are going around the country.
Yes.
You're listening to people. Will this sell? Will people buy it? Is it needed? And then you figure out that it is needed, right? So you start this business. Mm-hmm. So tell me about how you started the business, kind of your role in the business, and take us up to current status with your business.
Yes. We took a little detour there, but
good detour.
Yes.
Good detour.
So within graduate school, we went through this customer phase, and then we've got a lot of positive response, and so that was the kind of aha moment. Mm-hmm. Like, this is something that could be used to the market and the world, and most importantly, patients. If we can improve treatments for patients, that's all the information you really need to make the decision. So we formed a company, Onco Solutions. Check us out at OncoSolutionsLLC.com.
And spell it, Onco.
So ONCO, then Solutions, all one word.
Wait, spell out solutions. No, I'm just kidding. ONCO.
Yes, ONCO. So solutionsllc.com. And we're a small startup company in Akron, Ohio. So this was in 2016. We formed and registered the company. And so me freaked out about forming a company. I had no idea like what was involved.
Yeah.
And luckily we had a business mentor. And so my advisor at the time is also a co-founder, and this business mentor and me. So we all co-founded the company. And I was just like so wound up about the legalities of it. And they're like, this really isn't that big of a deal. Like you, to be honest, you fill out a form and pay like $100 in Ohio, and you have a LLC registered company.
There you go.
So,
Everybody stop freaking out.
yes, just do it.
Yeah.
But of course the harder parts come after that.
Yeah.
It's easy to file the
Right.
paperwork. So then it was really a matter of like, well, we need funding. And I committed to doing this after I graduated my PhD. So I graduated in August 2017. So I've been doing it for about a year now as CEO. So me, no business experience whatsoever, pure science experience, going to these rooms, pitching in front of all these older people who have way more business experience than me,
Yeah.
mostly men as well. Pretty intimidating. So it was a crazy experience. So actually, the first set of pitches I went up and I just did science. And the whole audience just glazed over. I'm like, why are they not excited about this? Like, this is cool science.
This is my jam.
Yeah, I'm like, these are my publication figures. Like, why are they not into these?
Yeah.
And
Look
then
at this math.
yes.
This is invigorating.
Yes. And then, it took a few times for my business mentor. And also, one thing I constantly work on for myself is to take feedback. Sometimes it can be really hard to take feedback, especially something like this that has been my baby for 5 years, and more than that now, but at that point, about 5 years.
Are you pretty stubborn about feedback too? You kind of like put your foot down?
Oh, yeah.
And then you like have to like decompress, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there is some takeaway there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something I've become much more aware of through this business experience, because it's constant feedback. I mean, I have to be open to it, because I'm not, wherever you are, even if you think you know everything, you don't. You have to be willing to take other people's feedback.
I heard once there's truth in every criticism, even if it's like really tough, really bad criticism, and the majority of it is not true. Even maybe that perception is true, and just to learn from that and process that. Anyway, keep moving.
No, definitely. I agree. And it's a good process. Also with feedback, you don't have to necessarily agree with people, but to accept it and think about it.
Right.
So anyways, my business mentor and others were like, you need to bring this down a level and make it about the business.
Exactly.
So the science obviously is a big part of it, but at the end of the day, when you're pitching to investors or funds or even just pitch contests, you have to make it simple, say the why, and answer the very simple, straightforward questions that make a compelling story. Say it's a big market, say, why this could be helpful, why now, still touch on your product and what it can do and its competitive advantages, but apart from that, don't dig into the nitty-gritty science.
Yeah.
So the first year of pitching, I lost all of them, and I was so deflated. I was
How many?
So I went to. Actually, it's pretty cool. At least in Northeast Ohio, there's so many of these. At universities and smaller,
cool.
funds that have these opportunities. I think I went to maybe 5, and I just was so deflated. And there was this one company I remember that just won a lot of them. And I was like, what do they have that I don't have? And I was so passionate about it. I'm like, why are people not interested in this? So then, I got the feedback about the pitch, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And that was really hard, because I had to basically I really think about it sometimes, turning off my science part of the brain. I have to just really kind of turn that off, turn on the business, and speak from that side of it. And that was really different and hard for me, because I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Like, I learned about it. I love learning, so it was a good opportunity to learn. And I researched about it, and I just embraced it. So then I went back to literally every other pitch contest that I tried the year prior, and I won like 3 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we were able to get, so these are very small amounts of money, but this is our starting point.
Right. Every little bit's going to help you at this point.
Yeah, so I got about $14,000 just going to pitch contests. And so also this was terrifying at this time, because I did not have a salary. So I was graduating with my PhD, and I did not have a salary. So that was terrifying. And so that was a huge motivation to go around to these pitch contests. So actually that was pretty much what I started off with paying myself, was these pitch winnings to get the business going. And we were able to get some for the lab space. So there's an incubator space in Akron that we could rent. And it kept just going from there. So then I looked into state and other local funding. I was able to get about $200,000 in state and local funding for equipment and the lab. And we just recently got a federal grant for about $250,000. So we're almost about up to $500,000 raised in just 2 years. And well, so really 1 year is when I really started kicking into gear after I graduated. But yeah, in just about a year, this funding has come through, and I hired my first employee. Yay! And I can fund myself, and we can really start trying to get sales and build the business side, and keep talking to those customers and really get this to the market. Obviously, is our goal. And so partnering, networking, those are all critical parts, and obviously continuing the fundraising.
Yeah, the fundraising part is so interesting for me to talk to you about because I've never experienced that before. And I'm so proud to hear that you've gotten like your goals, that you're reaching them. But what is that experience like? You're talking about switching to emotional, but you are, just to put it in perspective, at the time, you're how old? You're 26, 27?
Yes. Sometimes I forget my age.
And you're not standing right now. So for the people that are watching on YouTube, you're a small person, and you're a woman. I mean, what is that like? Like, are you getting any feedback about those things? Are people directly telling you you're too young for this? Or you know what I mean?
100%. So when I went through my first pitch contest, that was the whole room's feeling, and some are more direct. Some are saying, you're not going to succeed. You're too young. You don't know what you're doing. And a lot of people want to be in your face and not give you constructive criticism, but just be rude and say, you don't know what you're doing. You don't have any business experience. I mean, I've had things like that said to me. It's awful. It's terrible. And all older men, essentially. And I know they have more business experience than me. And it was really awful to go through that for the first couple of pitches. I was so down about it. I would cry. I would just go in the car afterwards and cry. You just feel like this was my passion, this is my dream, this is my baby, and I love the science of it, and I'm trying to do the business, and it was hard when it wasn't such a friendlier environment to receive this effort on my end, and, but I had to really transform myself. And then, what I did is I turned it around and I walked into rooms. If I come off confident, like I know what I'm talking about, and I do know what I'm talking about, prepared, always be prepared, then, and also willing. I think, honestly, a lot of people actually admit, like it when you admit that you just might not know, and that's okay, rather than being fight about it. Be like, I don't know about this specific question, but that's something we can definitely look into. Like, just be respectful about it. But mostly it's the confidence. If you go in giving off confidence, people are going to receive that. And, of course I was so timid in the beginning and scared, and I am this fresh scientist graduate trying to do this company, and it could come off as like a school project to other people. Yeah. And the more serious I took myself, the more confident I was, the more others accepted that. And people are going to be jerks. People have told me really rude, awful things, and it's a matter of when I've gotten a lot better about standing up for myself in those instances, but also when is the right time to stand up for yourself and just, sometimes people just project their insufficiencies on you. They just might not feel like they're doing great with their lives, and so they're just projecting that on you. They don't define my value or my worth. So I had to hold on to that. It was me, and it's up to me to be confident, to be strong, and do it. And it was, once I kind of made that switch, it was a lot better. But yes, unfortunately, I've had a lot of negative things said to me. People have told me, oh, you're going to have to read one of those books on how to be a successful career woman while also being a mother. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know why it would be any of your business whether or not I am planning on being a mother anytime soon. But second of all, I don't need to read a book to do that. So people have been very rude, and I've had people stare at my chest during presentations. Oh. I've had the whole range. I could give you many, many stories. People calling me honey. It's pretty deflating and frustrating. But at the end of the day, you gotta uplift. You can't let them define you or take you down. You gotta uplift yourself and they don't matter. They don't know me. They don't, even if they did, at the end of the day, you got to depend on yourself to, yeah, that's where your value is.
Yeah. I love that. They don't define my value.
No,
It's
they
true.
don't. Yeah.
I'm really proud of you for saying that.
Thanks.
Ugh. That just sounds like gut-wrenching.
It's awful.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, I mean, enough with the gut-wrenching, because you were talking about having mentors through this
Yeah.
process, and talk about how important have mentors been to you, and you don't really try and look for mentors, right? Like, how did you find your mentors?
Yeah, so I've been really lucky to be surrounded by so many great people. And, you know, say what you want about Northeast Ohio, but the people here have heart, and they're willing to just help me out of the goodness of their heart. And I've been so incredibly grateful for that. So, you know, my two co-founders have been really supportive. But beyond that, we've had great advisors. In both the science and pharma space, but also on the business side. And in particular, I have this one sales mentor, and she's just awesome. She's a rockin' awesome lady. And I think what makes a great mentor is not that she guides me on what, you know, she knows about, which is sales in this case, but she comes in and she pumps me up. She just gets me so excited.
She's your hype man.
Yeah, and in this environment, you need that in a startup company of one. Well, I guess now two, but you know, it's me sitting in a lab room by myself for 8 months, so that can get pretty hard mentally. But having her come in and just be like, "Let's do this," like have that energy, bring that enthusiasm, that makes all the difference. And then also clearly, she's very experienced in sales, and she helped me really get more focused on that. And we were able to get our first trial with a company, and we're hoping to get our first sales this year, which would be incredible. So. Yeah, I think it's all about networking at the end of the day, going to the right conferences, talking to the right people, and also just you never know where or when you're going to meet somebody. So it kind of gives you motivation to spark those random conversations with someone at a coffee shop or elsewhere, because you don't know when or where you're going to meet somebody.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to mentor someone, like kind of flip the switch?
Yes. So I did a little bit at the university level, like with researchers, but in the company, I actually have like 7 interns now who, you know, are young undergraduate, you know, students, and I love it. I love encouraging other people just to follow their dreams and their passion, and like that's. I think the more people see other people doing things they never thought they could do, the more they're likely to do things they just never really thought of.
Or if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, like feel empowered. And I think that's when I really feel the happiest, is when I am just engaged with other people, and you know, they're inspiring me. And I mean, the interns honestly day to day inspire me, and I hope that I can inspire them.
It's a mutual relationship, usually mentoring.
Yes, and they work so hard, and I'm like, wow, I need to step up my game here. So yeah. So, and it's been great, and also specifically with younger, you know, women in science, engineering, technology, math. Just STEM. I kind of said it backwards, but
yeah. Like, I mean, what's it been? You know, you talked about going into a fundraising room or a conference or things like that, but just in science in general, I mean, you're in a male-dominated field. Has that been really rewarding to be able to not just champion, you know, for cancer, or your mom, or your you know, just I don't know. To kind of pave
like
that
within the science.
Yeah, within the sciences. I don't know.
Yes. It's honestly, science and business have been very similar experiences. You know, I got a lot of not being taken serious on the science side either through graduate school. And people just, I don't understand why people are so quick to judge a lot of the time, and it's pretty frustrating. You know, a lot of times I was assigned tasks to do cleaning, you know, in the lab because I'm a woman. And
what?
Yes. So
no.
Yes.
That makes me want to throw over this table.
I know it was awful, and you know, that was one of those. So if that would have happened to me, I would have laid the law down and been like, "This is I'm not." You know, you can ask me to do it, but it's not because I'm a woman. Like, and it was said that that's why I was being asked to clean, was because I was a woman. So, you know, those younger years, like in graduate school, I wasn't as quick to stand up for myself. But now, through this business experience, you know, going into the business side and being a little bit more directly impacted by it, I think I really stepped it up a notch in how I want to respond to that. But definitely in the science, I've been called a Barbie in science. You know,
Science Barbie.
Yeah, you know, it's like I'm not sorry that I look a certain way. You know, I like to still there's stereotypes. I know, some people when they think of a scientist girl, they think of someone who doesn't like to wear makeup or do their hair or have style. I'm like, well, that's not me, and I'm gonna embrace that and still do that. And you're fine either way. Do you? Like, I don't care if others do want that, and I don't know why it's up to people to make comments about it. It's just so frustrating.
None of your business.
Right.
I think that listening to you, you probably got a lot of confidence from this business side, and that's been able to translate in other areas too, and give you confidence to stick up for yourself in those areas too. And it's probably super empowering for your interns and the people that you're mentoring to see a strong woman in the research field, in the laboratory, sticking up for herself. That's probably really, really changing the game.
Yes, 100%. So I think, the business stuff just really reinforced a lot of what I think I experienced in the science side, and I just didn't maybe have the confidence at the time to really stick up for myself. Something did grow and change in me through this business side. I can't really pinpoint what it was. I think just being up by myself, and I think being thrown into this crazy situation. I mean, I had to physically build a lab by myself. Honestly, one of the biggest attributes that helped me was my physical strength to move these pieces of equipment in this lab.
And you're a woman.
Yes, and I'm a woman, and I did that with my 2 hands. And I think just seeing this empty room that I moved into in October, seeing it fill with this equipment, and then being able to get cells growing in there, and then be able to do experiments, and then having people say I'm not going to be successful with the funding, and then raising $500,000, just hitting, not like I need those concrete milestones, but just seeing that progression, I think really built something inside me. And I think, I don't know, something just really sparked in me that we need to empower each other, and I need to, I'm a woman, I need to be proud of that, and I am proud of that. And the more I can just spread that, the better.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yes, exactly.
And I wish that we could almost go back to like high school and tell ourselves that,
right?
Oh
my gosh, yes.
And just that, like, life gets so much better, and you get so much confidence, and don't look at other people and envy them or get jealous. Like, you are so awesome at being you.
Yes. High school was awful for me. I was just so uncomfortable in my skin, and I'm not perfect. Some days I do just feel bad. And,
totally.
But I think what's different now is I just let myself feel that way. Some days you just don't. You kind of feel a little down and lack confidence. But
feel your feelings.
Okay, yeah. That doesn't mean I'm not confident. It just means in this moment I'm kind of just feeling like that. But high school, I was just so wound up about what other people thought, letting them define my value, letting other things define my value, like superficial things, like how I looked, I mean, we had uniforms, but who had the best knee highs, just like things like that. It just doesn't matter at the end of the day. And I think you really learn that. It's kind of actually hard to learn that, I think, as you grow up.
It is, yeah.
And I think it's hard to honestly look inside for validation. And it's a lot easier to find validation through superficial things because it's quick and easy, and you feel pretty good. You feel good when you go get a new outfit
like
and
a
you
quick
put it
high.
on. Exactly. But then it's not lasting. It's not a forever happy. So I think it's that kind of, just sparked in me. And but I think everyone has to kind of go through that high school. I don't think you would know how valuable it is to feel this way if you didn't go through that.
I agree. So you've also opened up to me recently about, coming full circle and taking care of your mental health side too. And going to therapy and being open about addressing your anxiety. Tell us about how you first of all, okay, so I recently saw like a post on Instagram, and it was like, check on your strong friends. That's what it said. And I thought, wow, like that really hit home for me, because I feel like you are one of those people that is one of my strong friends.
Oh, thanks.
You know what I mean? I look at you, you're building this business. You are, you've got this great marriage, and everything's good for Stephanie, but like, just because you're strong doesn't mean that you don't have to take care of yourself and that you can have those weak moments. So how did you come to terms with, like, it's okay to go to therapy, it's okay to admit that I have anxiety and address those issues?
Well, like you said, sometimes it's really hard to come to terms with things not being perfect. And I think for a long time, I was really focused on being perfect and using, again, like some things to measure my happiness. And It was the first year of graduate school, and everything just hit me so fast. So I'm pretty bad with change. I just don't do well with it, and that's something. The more I embrace that and just acknowledge that, the better I think I'll be. Just to know any upcoming change is going to kind of be a little bit difficult for me. And I didn't really have that much self-awareness as I was going to graduate school. I just dove in, and it hit me hard. So I was just so busy. Taking these classes, being a teaching assistant, and then also research. And I was, these stresses of not knowing what I'm doing in the lab, working with these, cancer cells. I was just so incredibly stressed and overwhelmed. And so I think I felt that way at to a certain level at some points in my life, but I didn't really address it, or it wasn't to this magnitude. And so this unfortunately was like the worst, anxiety I've felt ever. And it manifested its way in physical ways. So I would feel ill, I would feel like faint, I would feel like something was wrong with me physically, like I had some sort of disorder or disease, like I thought something was physically wrong with me. And so in that time, I actually went to the doctor and tried to figure out if something was physically wrong with me. I keep feeling faintish, I keep feeling ill, I just don't feel like myself,
right.
Like something's off. And they actually ran all of these tests. They did some heart tests because I was feeling faintish and all of this stuff. And at one point, my doctor sits me down and she's like, you know what, you have a lot going on. Like, maybe this is anxiety and stress. Like, she recommended talking to someone. And that was kind of hard for me to swallow, because I was just like, I think, unfortunately, we have this view that going to seek help through therapists or counseling is a bad thing.
Yep.
It's not, though. It's totally acceptable. I honestly think it's more common than you think, and
we're just not talking about it.
Exactly, and we need to be more open about it. And I think it was hard for me to admit to myself, I don't know, I kept trying to pursue this perfect life, but you know what, I'm not perfect, and I am an emotional person, and I'm anxious, and I have a lot of anxiety, and I need to deal with that. So I went to my therapist. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly nervous, and she honestly, hands down, changed my life. And I tell her that a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't really talk to her too much anymore, but I've written her emails and just been like, I'm feeling anxious now, and I'm just using some of the tools that you've taught me, and it's helping. I think it's important for also therapists to know how important they are.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I went and saw her, and it was just night and day. I did not feel it physically. I felt so much better because we started talking about taking time for myself. Mm-hmm. When I start feeling these triggers of feeling these, feeling ill or feeling faintish, I need to look internally and just take those 5-10 minutes, sit here, breathe, center myself, go for a walk, close your laptop, go work out, go eat lunch outside, take time for yourself. And I think that's so much everyone always has struggles with, that is just not really truly taking time for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you have to be selfish a little bit in order to be happy.
Yeah, to be there for others, you've got to be there for yourself first. And building up that self-care toolbox. Mm-hmm. Almost is like, okay, these are the things that help me out. Going for a walk, going to work out, and you start boxing too. Yes. So, working out is the biggest outlet for me for my anxiety. Just that physical outlet is huge for me. And no matter what I carry in when I'm working out, I come out feeling so much better about it. Mm-hmm. And especially boxing has really been just a great, outlet. That it's been awesome. And so I'm actually in a boxing that's focused on women empowerment as well. Mm-hmm. So that just adds a whole nother exciting part to it. I love it. And so it was really about working out, journaling, yoga, breathing, taking time for yourself. And I use those tools to this day. So that was about 6 years ago. To this day, part of it was accepting I'm just going to be anxious about things. Mm-hmm. And it's a part of who I am.
It is.
And I'm also confident. And I'm also brave. And I'm also strong. But I also have this.
Exactly. And it's going to just be a part of me, and it's going to be there. And sometimes it'll be turned up a lot, and I'll feel like it's overpowering a little bit, and I'll have to go to my toolbox. Sometimes it's just there, a little bit, background noise. And that's okay. And if you fight it, it makes it so much worse. So, and sometimes I still do have these little cycles where I'm fighting it. And I'm like, you know what? Why I'm nervous, I'm anxious. It's okay. Like, let's just have those thoughts running, but I can still go on with my daily life and, or take time. Sometimes these tools that I use have immediate effects. Sometimes they don't, and that can be disappointing, but it is what it is. It's never consistent. But yeah, to this day, I use those tools, and that was just a really life-changing experience for me. And I think I've experienced it before at smaller levels. I didn't really recognize the anxiety, or I just didn't, as you're younger, you kind of just...
You minimize things?
Yeah, you don't really, I didn't have that self-awareness to be like, you know what, I need to deal with this. And yeah, so I'm happy I did that. And that wasn't the last time I saw her. I went back a few times, and you kind of have to check in sometimes. Go back to that self-care. You have to be a little bit reminded. And even now, what's great is I feel these triggers of being anxious, or I know my thought process. And instead of freaking out and being like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, something's physically wrong with me. I'm like, oh, that's anxiety. Like, I know what that is. I can identify it and then deal with it.
More aware of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right when I first got the divorce, everybody was like, oh, you need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy. I put my foot down. I don't need to go to therapy. I'm fine, until it just gets so bad.
Yes.
And, I too am so glad that I went, and I still check in too. I'm not going regularly, but sometimes you just need to be self-aware enough to be like, I need an emergency appointment, and just go and reevaluate and reset.
Yeah, definitely. I will emphasize that they gave me meds, like anxiety meds from the doctor, and I never took them because the therapy worked. So I just feel like don't jump too quickly into taking things. I think talking is way more powerful than some people think.
And well, hey, if you want to come full circle, you were educating yourself. You were learning about how your brain, how your body worked, and that is right up your alley. But it also worked for me too. I mean, I went to see a cognitive behavioral therapist, so she taught me all sorts of things about how my brain was working against me and how to rewire my thoughts to fight back against it. So that felt super empowering. And again, instead of taking medicine, which helps a lot of people in a lot of different ways, sometimes just teaching your brain to rewire itself can help push you where you need to go.
Yeah, I'm not saying, medicine works for some, but I'm just saying I'm a strong advocate for trying therapy and,
just giving it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also wanted to bring up Trevor because Trevor's so amazing, and I just, I think you guys have a really great relationship. He's also in your field, and I just really admire how he supports you and how you support him. And I don't know, I mean, just any relationship advice for two career-oriented people? You're both strong-willed, you're both forging your own paths together and separately.
Yes. He's awesome. He is remarkable. I can't say enough how grateful I am. I'm going to start crying.
I'll cry too because Trevor's the best.
I know. He seriously supports me so much. Through all of this, he's just been there every step of the way. And he's just a remarkable human being. So, yeah, I think it's really hard to both be career-oriented, and communication is really top priority. You have to talk about what you're feeling, what your priorities are, it's important for both of us. I think you need to know what's important for yourself, and then you need to talk with your significant other about what's important. Communicate that with your significant other and work together to make sure, obviously we are important to each other, but we're also people that want to be fulfilled in our careers and have that balance. And so it's incredibly hard, and, nothing comes easy. You have to really work hard for a successful relationship. It's a lot of communication. And I think I would also really emphasize that in a marriage, it's really important to maintain your independence. And just because you're married doesn't mean you have to do literally everything together.
Yep.
I think that's critical. Like, you have to maintain who you are, and it's okay to like be in different rooms doing different things for yourself.
Right.
You know, it's not like that's a bad thing. It's great. Actually, when we go spend time independently with our friends or doing activities for ourselves, and we come back and spend time together, it's just so much more fun. And because we've filled our cups, and now we can be together. You know, so it's all a balance. You know, obviously, with anything, it's a balance. And yeah, I think what was great about Trevor is he's so incredibly independent. I actually lucked out that I think I became more independent when I married him.
Yeah.
So he has encouraged me to just be more independent than I ever even thought I would be. So instilling that strength in me and just encouraging me is super important. And yeah, I think just reiterating hard work and communication, the willingness to meet each other in the middle and talk it out. And it's just, it will work out if you both want to work it out, and you have to be willing to compromise and meet in the middle.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's easy to get kind of selfish and be like, well, I want this and I'm doing this. But it's a two-person team. You got to think about the other person. And so with the careers, it's been really interesting to see how it unfolds, because, you know, I've definitely made a lot of sacrifices in our future by taking this leap of faith in the company. You know,
Yeah.
I've not been making a salary I could make. You know, we both made sacrifices by going to graduate school. We've put a lot of things on hold. You know, so it's, I think, taking care of yourself first and then doing the rest. And so it was important to us to be able to do our education and get that out of the way before we started bringing a family into our lives and doing all of that. Because I think if you jump too fast in a lot of those things, then you might look back and be like, shoot. And I'm not saying it might not be, like, you could still go do that later.
Sometimes it works for people, but
Yeah.
you know, having a game plan ready is
Yeah.
definitely.
Game plan. That's a good way of putting it. Talking and having a plan.
Yeah.
But of course, don't get too caught up in it, because you don't know what's going to happen.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're attached to the plan, and then your whole world is ruined when the plan doesn't work
Yes.
out. But I like using that analogy, and I probably use this on another podcast, but like of your life baskets, and like Trevor's a basket, boxing is a basket, your
Yes.
business is a basket, your family's a basket, and you have to put your eggs in like every one
Yeah.
of evenly in the baskets, because if you overflow one of the baskets, it's going to break. So if
Yeah.
you put too many eggs in Trevor's basket,
Right.
he's not going to be able to support you anymore.
Yes, exactly.
So, you know, making
Yeah.
sure you have enough outlets to...
Yeah. And yeah, just having someone who understands you. That's
Yeah.
so important.
And you guys took the time. I mean, you really did. You dated for a long time. You did the long distance thing. And then I remember you guys did the counseling things too before the marriage, which helped you, I'm sure, which all seems a little silly, but at the same time, they're helping you work through things that you aren't aware you're going to need to work through when you get married.
Right. Yeah. So we did. You're talking about like the premarital
Yeah.
stuff. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We did do some sessions. I actually will say though that was not as, the one we went to was not as helpful
okay.
as we wanted it
Well,
to be.
I admired you
but
guys
I think,
nonetheless.
Maybe
It brought you closer together because you could like laugh.
Well, no. So I mean, I would definitely recommend doing something like that. We went through a pre-Cana at the church, and it was interesting for us because a lot of things they brought up, we thought people should have already talked about if you're at this stage in your relationship. Which
Some
I guess
people
was
don't,
yes,
Stephanie.
I know. No,
I know.
I think it's really important to be. Obviously, you can have different views, but at the end of the day, I think if you have the same overall, vision and goals, that's really important. And I'm really grateful that he is so understanding of the career, and even if someone's not, if you're single about there's not in your field, they don't have to be specifically in your field, but
Right.
if they just understanding of that.
Yeah.
So understanding the long hours sometimes and things like that.
And
so.
life changes. And,
Yeah.
So thinking about the future, like what are your dreams and goals and hopes
Yeah.
and, life, personal or professional? Where do you want to see the business go? All that kind of stuff.
So I think one of the important things that I've gotten out of this past year is like you have to kind of define those goals and things and what you value in life. So I think I had a really little bit hard of time adjusting that you like through school and career, you kind of tend to value, on tangible outcomes like a grade or a funding milestone or
A graduation.
a graduation, like some sort of great ceremony milestone. And that's just not like life really for, I think it's easy to find value in, or prestigiousness. Like it's easy to find value in those items, but at the end of the day, I think my values kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
So I am actually kind of interested in taking a little bit of a turn and valuing a lot, I think my values change a lot into more family oriented, career fulfillment. Obviously, research and science is where my passion is. So I think in the future, I can really see myself digging a lot deeper in those areas. And I think my values have changed from me thinking I need to always have this huge prestigious title, or I always need to be having this huge salary, or I need to have this huge house, or I need to have this A+ grade, or I need to hit these milestones, or I need to have this X number of kids by this year. Like I'm not really holding myself to those anymore. Instead, I'm trying to focus on what my values are. My values are revolutionizing the way cancer research is in the world, making a change in that way with my passion, focusing on family and friends and myself.
Yeah, that's good. It's deep.
Yeah.
Well, I am really proud of you.
Thank you.
I can, my mom said that she hoped we'd be friends, and
Well, it happened.
isn't
Yeah.
it great that,
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, it is really cool that we've been able to
Yeah,
be friends.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Also, shout out to Katie for doing this.
What?
Yeah, I think you're awesome, and I think one of the best ways is to spread awareness.
I'm going
and,
to cry now.
I mean, you just took this and did it,
Yeah.
and you should be really proud of yourself. I mean, look at you and everything you're doing, and you are spreading empowerment through other people by sharing their story,
Yeah.
and I can see already the difference in you and how excited and pumped you are.
I am, and it's just, I only did it really for me, I wanted to fill that within me, and then, knowing how many people have already listened, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow,
Yeah.
I could not maybe just touch me, I could touch another person, and maybe 2 people or 3 people or 4, and it has been really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
So, and I never saw it coming. So just keeping an open mind and just like you said, having a plan, but
Yeah.
not being afraid to veer, take a leap a
Yeah.
little bit. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know. It's been fun.
Yes.
Go team.
Keep it up. Go team.
Dr. Lemoham.
Yes.
Dr. Stephanie Lemoham.
Yes.
High five.
Thanks.
It's kind of like a staple here.
Yeah.
That I do the high five afterwards.
I saw the YouTube.
I know,
Yeah.
it's like- did you watch it on YouTube? Yeah, okay. Cool. Bye.
Bye.